Thank you, Fanula, and thank you so much for having me here today. I met somebody outside who said they were really looking forward to hearing what I have to say today, and I am too. Full disclosure, I'm a mother of 2 young children who always know when I have a big event happening in my life and will start vomiting like exorcists and keep me up 3 nights in a row. So this is very much going to be ad lib, but I noticed a theme listening to the incredible speakers who've gone before me, and that theme is stories. So some people here may have seen me speak before. I'm all about the hustle. I'm trying to get funding for my service. I'm trying to advocate. I'm trying to raise awareness. I'm not going to do that today. Today I'm going to focus on stories. And Maya Angelou once said, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. And that's what I see every day. And that's what really opens my eyes. The title of my talk is A Day in the Life, and it's Global Health in inner city Dublin. That's where I work. I work in Summerhill. I walk through dog shit to get to clinic. I walk past drug deals. I walk past 14-year-olds on e-scooters with balaclavas on every day, because this is where the children and the families that I work with live, and this is the world that they live in, and this is our local world. I work with children and families from all different backgrounds. The unifying factor is social adversity, it's exclusion, it's visible and invisible barriers to healthcare. And I won't actually talk much about the healthcare that I do today, because I say to everybody, the medicine is the really easy part for me. I can identify the disease process, I can decide on the medicines that they need. That's really easy, because these children are really sick because their illnesses are worsened by poverty and their social circumstances. So actually, my medical skills are not what underpin our service. And what underpins our service is listening to the stories. I've recently finished the book by Elif Shafak, There Are Rivers in the Sky, and alluding to Iski, I feel that we hold these stories inside of us, and there's a huge responsibility and a professional privilege to bear witness to some of the stories that I see. So I'm just going to talk. I'm just going to talk about some of these stories and some of the examples that have really opened to my eyes to what is on our own doorstep and to what represents global health in my everyday clinical practice. So I had a 9-year-old boy who was an international protection applicant who'd been in Ireland about 6 months, lived in a hotel, as many of these children and families do. All 5 members of the family lived in one room. And he had 2 siblings, and he was just fabulous. He loved books, he loved history. He came into clinic in a beautiful button-down check shirt, in jeans that were ironed, and I look at people's shoes now. I look at shoes because I see children whose feet look really big, and as a doctor you're always going, what's this a sign of? What's this process? They get their shoes in charity shops and they get whatever the nearest size is. So I have children coming in with really, either they're walking, and again, tiptoe walking. I'm like, what does that mean? It means their shoes are too tight. So I look at shoes. But he was so perfectly turned out, telling me how much he loved Harry Potter. And he had come into me with constipation, which is a really common thing we see in all of our clinics. But we couldn't get on top of it. There was something that we were missing. So what we did was we took our time with him. We didn't force a treatment on him that he felt wasn't working. He was an incredibly articulate 9-year-old. You have to listen. When a child is telling you they don't think something's working, just telling them to persist doesn't help. And we knew that there was something underpinning this. There was some big trauma there, because usually one of the barriers to engagement and adhering to care is trauma. And we ended up bringing him into hospital to really try and get a feel for what we could do and what we could do alongside him and his family. And it transpired that he was a twin. He had been a twin. And he had watched at the age of 5 while his twin sister died after a botched FGM procedure. And the reason they had left their country of origin, because his younger sibling, who when I met them was 4, was a girl. And he carried that loss inside him. He is an incredibly insightful, articulate, and bright young man. And without knowing that, and without being able to address that huge hole in his life that will never be filled, how are we supposed to treat him? How are we supposed to, we can prescribe, we can say, take your constipation medicine. It's not going to help him. And his constipation was so severe, it was having a massive impact on his quality of life. He couldn't attend school. This was a boy whose reading age was probably higher than my own. And he is a boy who will go on, I have no doubt, to do amazing things. But to do that, we had to recognize where what was underpinning and where his greater need was. And actually, as a doctor, I would always say his greatest need is treat the constipation, make him feel better. That wasn't where his greatest need was. His greatest need was to be able to, when he was ready, even begin to acknowledge and to come through the trauma that he'd experienced. I have another little boy who is one of my favorite patients. He is just so engaging. He loves hugs. He'll come up to you and go, hug, and you just get a hug. And he's got complex obesity. He's complex obesity. He lives in homeless accommodation. His mum is a single mother, and dad has never been in the picture. He has a half-sibling who is wonderful, but does a lot of caring for him because his mum has significant mental health needs. And he presented to us with medical complications of obesity at the age of 4. And there's a stigma with obesity, and people with obesity experience a lot of healthcare stigma because people go, why don't people just eat less? Why don't they exercise more? You put a child living in a hotel room with no kitchen access, who does not look Caucasian Irish, who is not enrolled in a school because there's no placements, whose mum can't feed him. She can't cook the food that she wants to feed him. All he gets is processed, ultra-processed foods and fast food because that's all that she can give him. She's trying to hold down a job as well until his childcare broke down. And up until last November, October, November, do you remember the stabbing in the inner city near Temple Street? Since then, she hasn't brought him outside because of the racial abuse and the slurs that they get. So me sitting there saying, bring him out for more exercise, feed him better food, what is that going to do? What is that going to do? We have managed, and it's taken nearly a year, with children it's different, with adults you don't look to reduce the weight, you look to have them grow into their weight, so it's a nice positive approach that you can take. It's taken a year. But he is improving. We have advocated. We have finally, he's on a priority list for social housing, and they're going to move into it in the next 3 weeks. I've seen his mother transformed because she's going to have a home of her own. His sister's going to have her own bedroom. Her sleep went out the window when her brother became sick. And his BMI is finally improving, and his complications are improving. We have given him no medicine. I have given him no treatment. But looking and understanding and not discharging them when we're like, things aren't improving, she's not doing what we've asked her to do, discharge. Because that's, we're all under pressure with wait list, time, resources. We've just held on to them because when no other service can nest someone, sometimes we're the only link. And I do like to think that over time, we develop a relationship of trust with children and families, so letting go of them, even sometimes I feel when actually we're not doing much medicine, but letting go of people until they've something else secure to hold on to, like their own home, is what they need. I work a huge amount with members of the Roma community, and I have to say, when you talk about resilience, that's a common factor in everybody. I mean, some morning, I'm getting up to speak to you today on about 3 nights of no sleep, and I feel like I'm going to fall over. I say to people sometimes, if I brush my hair, I'm winning. These parents, these women are so resilient. They have come through and are experiencing adversity like I can't even imagine. And they are, and there can be challenging interactions. We usually manage to end it okay. But there are challenging interactions because our priorities are different. And I have to look at a healthcare professional. What I might be prioritizing is not what this mother is prioritizing for her child. And if I'm not listening to her, why is she going to listen to me? I was at a conference down in Limerick a couple of months ago where a singer composed a song about being an international protection applicant engaging with healthcare. And they said something that really stuck with me, and it was, I will be your patient if you are patient with me. And I'm sorry I can't remember his name or I'd credit him with that lyric, but that has really stuck with me. My role is a privilege, and expecting someone to listen to me just because I'm their doctor, what gives me that right to assume that they should listen to me unless I've actually sat and listened to them? So I think listening and giving people time is sometimes the greater medicine than throwing a prescription at something, because that we can treat the symptoms, but we're not treating the cause. There's sorry now, my sleep deprivation is kicking in here, but we see parents advocating for their children and understanding. An example of our clinic, I have my clinic in the afternoon, and someone said, but there's way more, there's so many advantages in terms of the hospital system with having your clinic in the morning. And I say, yeah, but people in homelessness, sometimes the only their only constant in their lives is their children are in school, where they've got friends, where the teacher looks out for them, where they get their hot meal. And if you're moved from Gardner Street out to Lucan, to Finnstown Hotel, you may decide not to move your children from that school that knows your family and understands you. So you take 2 hours to get your kids to school on public transport and 2 hours to get back. So me having my clinic in the morning is adding one extra thing that they have to somehow get to while they've a 3-year-old. The other thing I talk about sleep deprivation is it's a family unit that we look after. I have another story of an amazing mammy with 5 children who was a single mother, and a huge amount of homelessness is out of domestic violence as well. So within her culture and community, leaving her partner is taboo, but she left her partner because she was experiencing significant domestic violence and saw the impact that it was having on herself. So her choice was stay in that relationship and expose her children to that trauma, or move into homelessness and expose your children to that trauma. And it's a choice that I can't imagine having to make as a parent. And we met them. One of the children is being investigated for autism spectrum disorder, and it's and imagine he's coming in, his whole world has fallen apart, and he's been moved into this completely uncertain system where you're dependent on lots of other people moving in and out of your lives. It's a very communal situation that they're in, and he stopped sleeping. I would stop sleeping in that situation. And they went in for a developmental check, and the mum was told in no uncertain terms that his developmental problems are because he's being put in front of a phone at night. And that's why he's not sleeping, and that's why his behaviour is all over the place. And I want to say, and by the way, the public health nurses I work with are warriors, but you know, sometimes there's just interactions where things fall down. And this ma'am described to me the other 4 children, one of whom has just started secondary school and is trying to, you know, engage with that while dealing with the huge changes in her lives. And this boy doesn't sleep, so she has to give him the phone or no one else sleeps. If he gets upset, there's bangs on the ceiling, there's bangs on the doors, there's shouts. Can you imagine, as a mother, what choice does she have? So instead of sitting there and saying, you need to reduce the screen time and you need to get your child to sleep, maybe go, if that's what's working for you, then that's okay. Let's see what else can we do to help you in the situation that you're in. I could talk I have so many stories, but what I will say is that it's stories and listening to the stories that are going to be the only way as health professionals working in this space that we're going to be able to move forward with a system and a service that actually in some way is able to meaningfully address the challenges that children and family face, and even acknowledging that healthcare is such a small piece of a much greater jigsaw puzzle, and seeing all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle today really does give me hope that we're moving in the right direction. So thank you all so much.